104.7 The Cave. KKLH, Marshfield, Springfield. A proud member of the Kansas City Chiefs radio network.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Now, it's time for Ned Talk.
Here we are on a steamy Sunday. It's like you open the door, you walk outside, and you walked into a wall, and Ned Reynolds has got a big smile on his face because that makes him really happy. You like the steamy weather, don't you, sir?
You're a wuss, Joe. Come on.
Oh, wow. Right out of the gate?
It is perfect weather. It's summer, number one. We're about to go into July. You expect the humidity, and yes, I will admit to you, us old people don't hurt quite as bad when it's warm.
All right. Throwing down the gauntlet. First seconds of the show. I'm Joe Westen, by the way. Already insulted. That was Ned Reynolds.
The insulter.
The insulter. John Oliver's here with us. John, how are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm not doing as well with the heat like I used to. So I
wilt like I do?
Yeah, I need to have like a Gatorade IV or something.
Gatorade. I can't stand. I shouldn't say that. All right. Not a big fan of sports drinks. I don't really like them. Too much electrolytes. Makes me shaky. Josh Roberts, how are you, sir?
Oh, I sleep in a meat locker, so walking outside for me is not good.
Yeah, I like the cold.
I enjoy it cold.
I like the air conditioning. I have to admit to that.
I do like the sun though. I mean, it's awesome that it's we're in the summer, but the heat, I can take it.
My friend Katie posted on her Facebook page a couple of weeks ago about how she's in a relationship with air conditioning. She loves it. So. Let's start out with what we've talked about the last couple of weeks. Sticky stuff in baseball, and nobody's been ejected so far. Nobody's been kicked out of any games, but there's been some huge theatrics, and I guess the place to begin is with your Phillies, Max Scherzer. Tell us about that.
Joe Girardi got into it. Max Scherzer and Joe Girardi got into it with each other because the manager can ask. Mm-hmm. That's part of the rules. The manager can ask the umpire to check. Umpires can do it on their own and usually do it on their own, but a manager can challenge. And Girardi challenged Scherzer and challenged him to no avail because Scherzer did not apparently have any clandestine sticky stuff with him at all. And quite frankly, in my opinion, this is just a lot of rubbish. And that isn't the problem with baseball. Baseball does have a problem, yes, and we've talked about this before, but it's the fact that hitters are being taught the wrong tactics. Pitchers, we've talked about the pitchers. They're taught to throw strong and hard. Velocity is what you're looking for, and that in and of itself is a point of conjecture. But it's the hitters who are the big problem, and I told these guys earlier, Joe, Mike Schmidt, who I have a lot of respect for, one of the all-time greats, Hall of Famer, said yesterday the very same thing. It's the hitters, the lack of technique in proper hitting, and you yourself pointed it out just a short time ago in a fan reaction or fans' reaction to a poll pointing out the foibles, so to speak, in baseball.
Well, Major League Baseball and all their infinite wisdom, Rob Manfred has put together a team of people to look at baseball and see what's wrong with it. Theo Epstein's part of this team, who I don't think that's a great choice because he's a sabermetrics guy. He's a Bill James guy. By the way, we're saying names here, and in case you're not familiar with them, Theo Epstein was the general manager of the Cubs. He was general manager of the Boston Red Sox. He is a Bill James disciple. Bill James is the author, more or less, of the ideal of sabermetrics, which is breaking down Major League Baseball statistics to the meta level and trying to determine how players play the game. And he is basically responsible for the WAR statistic, which is the most worthless statistic in all of sports. How do you even measure that? He's basically responsible for shifts. He's basically responsible for a lot of things that are wrong with the game today. And all four of us here kind of share the opinion about it because it's hard to watch baseball games. A really exciting matchup this last week. Padres-Dodgers, 31 strikeouts. 31 strikeouts in a 9-inning game. That is not exciting for fans to watch.
No, it's pathetic.
It is also not, in my opinion, not necessarily a praising point, a point of cheering from the rooftops about how good pitching is. I think it's how bad hitting is. because, again, they're not playing contact baseball. That's what baseball is all about. Putting runners on base, moving them, getting them in scoring position. I also think, gang, that if you had that, you'd see a lot more quick, exciting baseball than you do now with individuals going for, I know, chicks dig the long, boy. That's a lot of foolishness.
Well, going back to what we were talking about, one of the things that this committee has done is they put out a survey at Major League Baseball ballparks and asked fans what it is they want to see. And the top 3 responses were triples, doubles, stolen bases. Strikeouts and home runs were not on that list.
Right.
And nobody steals bases anymore.
No. Except for Whit Merrifield.
Yeah, and there's just a few. You don't see triples like you used to, and doubles are, not as exciting as they used to be. There's a lot of guys pull up in doubles these days.
Yeah, there's a couple of aspects to this that bother me. Number one, say what you will about Joe Girardi. I'll leave my personal feelings out of it, but there's a level of gamesmanship with checking Scherzer at that point. The excuse was one of the lamest I heard after the game. Well, he went to his hair. I've never seen Scherzer do that. Well, yeah, he went to his hair to get sweat. You've got to grip the ball with something. That sweat's not illegal. And then my other thing I want to point back to, we talked about this extensively on the show before, and I think people just aren't getting this. It is the hitters. My prime example, and I will beat this into the ground, is with shifts. There is a very easy way to stop shifts in Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball, these are the elite hitters. You can't lay a bunt down the third base line. You can't go opposite way. Teach hitting, not launch angles, not velocity. Teach hitting.
Exactly. That's a huge thing. Josh is our casual baseball fan. Have you casually watched any baseball games this year? How's your casual relationship with baseball?
It's even more casual this year. But, I mean, I've tried to keep up with what's going on. And here's, always having been a casual fan, I remember going to see Cardinal games in the 80s with Whitey Herzog as the manager and their style of play. I remember seeing the George Brett era of the Royals in person. Those games they were exciting not because people were hitting home runs. They were exciting because they were playing great baseball. And so I get that, people like to see it's glamorous to hit a home run. It's glamorous for a pitcher to get a bunch of strikeouts, but that is not the fundamental of what baseball is supposed to be as far as the way that the game was designed and structured. And yes, sports change, sports evolve, whatever. But I think it's bad for baseball for it to be turning into what it's turned into.
Let's talk about this for just a second because there was a Major League Baseball record tied this week. Tom Seaver's record. He struck out 10 batters in a row in a Major League Baseball game. Tom Seaver, considered one of the all-time great pitchers, 70s legend. Is Aaron Nola, who is the guy that tied that record, is he Tom Seaver in the future?
Well, he may not be Tom Seaver, but Aaron Nola is a very, very, very fine Major League ball player. All-America at LSU, Philadelphia's top draft choice, and a guy who over the year, now he's not a newcomer to big league baseball. He's been around now for a couple of years. He has gradually improved his game as you do with top draft choices. That's what you expect them to do. Nola's fine pitcher. 10 strikeouts, that may be, just a quirk of the fact that he's a very good pitcher. My problem with that, and that is something that's very noteworthy, obviously. It ties the record that Seaver set. But you see pitchers coming up with 14, 15, 16 strikeouts in a game, maybe not on a consistent basis, but guys who strike out 10, 11 in a game and so forth. They're notable achievements, but everybody is doing it. This what do we have? 7 no-hitters this year.
That's right.
Yeah.
It not become exclusive anymore, and it's because, sure, there are good pitchers out there, but there are also wretched hitters who are attacking the baseball in exactly the wrong manner. And therein lies the problem. But as far as Nola being another Tom Seaver, he's a good pitcher. He's an all-star level pitcher.
You're listening to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave. It's your local live sports talk show. You're listening to 4 guys bitch about how bad baseball is these days. My point, I'm not knocking Aaron Nola, but you see people break records over the last few years, and that's probably maybe the highlight of their career. Is they're going to be in a record book with Tom Seaver? And at some point, 15, 20 years from now, if baseball is still around, somebody opens up that record book and they go, oh, I know Tom Seaver. Will they know Aaron Nolan? That's yet to be written. But you see that a lot with people, with the things that are happening in the sport these days. You're not seeing the great names, but they're not. There's no great hitters in the game anymore. The people that are held up in the game right now are guys that are basically average baseball hitters. They have a lot of power, though. Tatis, Guerrero, Ohtani, they're average hitters. They're Dave Kingmans. They're, other guys like that put the ball out of the park, but the batting average is not there. You're not seeing high batting averages anymore.
No, when you have a batter who is hitting at 280 and 290 and he's your top hitter, and you rely on him for the key base hits, the art of hitting is not what it should be. Babe Ruth, 342. Babe Ruth's a great hitter. Yes, he's a great home run hitter, but he's a great hitter, period. Ty Cobb, one of the scientific hitters of the best of all time. And we go to some of the current players who are really top level. And you mentioned George Brett. Heck, he batted 390.
That's
Brett
right.
could hit home runs, but he could also HIT, period. He was just a good, consummate baseball hitter.
I'm going to retract one of my statements really quickly.
I was going to say.
Vlad Guerrero Jr. does have a very good batting average.
I was going to correct you on that. Yeah. He is a throwback. And look at who his father is. Vladimir Sr. swung at anything that was around the plate.
Legit Triple Crown candidate.
He is. He absolutely is.
Brantley's having a good year, hitting 349. Castellanos is 348.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but these are their names you don't hear. Xander Bogaerts having a good year at 327. There's so few guys over the 300 list right now.
And Joe, one thing I want to point out real quick too, with the Cardinals as an example, and you can see this on every Major League Baseball team. Let's talk about Paul DeJong. DeJong is a great guy. He's got superb power. I covered him, interviewed him dozens of times here in Springfield. Great guy. He's batting 160. Yeah. Tell me another era of baseball where you can look at every Major League Baseball team, save the Astros, and see that somebody's batting under 200 halfway through the season and hasn't lost their job.
And that's the point. And he's still a regular, and he's still the shortstop on the team. I think what the Cardinals are doing, I'm guessing this to be the case, is thinking this is a fluke, that he's going to come out of it. And, of course, every so often he'll hit a home run, and that's it. He won't do anything more. Mm-hmm. I think therein lies the problem. If that continues, I think something drastic has to happen. I'm going to give you another example, though. Go through the Cardinal stats, or do you have them right
Yeah,
now?
I can pull them up here really quickly.
Here's a guy the Cardinals got for hitting, Paul Goldschmidt. Mm-hmm. He's a great player, great guy, very, very good defensive ball player. What is he hitting right now? About 250, 260, somewhere around there. He's going to come up with an occasional hit, but where is the consistency?
Arenado's at the top of the list. 269 is what he's hitting right now. And let's just talk. That's a great pickup for the Cardinals because he's Triple Crown right now for them on the team, leading and hitting. But the top hitter for the Cardinals, 269. That's not good. Yeah. But
where's Goldschmidt?
Goldschmidt is hitting
maybe 255, something like that.
Bring that up real quick here and see if I can.
I know he's not.
Always fascinating to listen to guys try to find 253.
All right, hitting 253. That's not Goldschmidt. That's not what they got him for. They got him to be a 300 hitter. He plays his defense. Arenado, they got for what he's doing. That's what he is very, very good at doing. He's a long ball hitter. That's why he's there. He's also an utterly magnificent defensive player. Maybe. Yeah. And is he betting again? I'm going to bring up my hero, Mike Schmidt, at third base. Is he at that caliber? He may be better than Mike Schmidt.
Wow. I'll even put Brooks Robinson in that conversation. He may be better than Brooks Robinson, I never
He's no
thought
Craig Nettles, though.
But you're saying he's batting 269. Yes, that is right. But his power is why they got him. Do you have put up Arenado's RBIs there again? See where he's
leading the team in RBIs is what I saw just a second ago.
And this is for a team that doesn't put anybody on base. Mm-hmm. How many does he have? 49, did you say?
No, I'm sorry. No, 22. That's his home statistics, though.
No,
sorry, 49. I'm sorry.
49 RBIs. Okay, that's good. It's not great, but it's certainly good.
Yeah,
and it's for a team that doesn't put anybody on base. Right. This guy is worth every
Project
dollar.
him out, though. Project him out for the season. If he stays healthy, you're looking at 30-plus home runs. You're looking at 110 RBIs on the season. That's a really decent year. I mean,
it's a fine year. I have no problem with him at all, but I do with Paul Goldschmidt because he's trying to equal that. He's not a home run hitter. He'll hit an occasional one, yes. Same with Paul DeYoung. I think he is swinging the bat wrong. He's not making contact. And this is for a guy who can play the game. It just is the wrong approach.
Let's talk about everybody's favorite Cardinal, Matt Carpenter, hitting 178. 3 home runs, 17 runs batted in.
Look and
When's
see
this
right
gonna-
there,
when's this
Joe.
gonna-
Look and
when's this
see
gonna
what
end?
look and see what the number of hits he has in the times at bat. That's where you get, of course, your batting average out of that. But he was at one time this year. He's around 130 and 140, so he's hiked it up a little bit. And he is also in the situation now with so few times at bat that every time he gets one hit, it raises that average maybe 10 points or something like that. So it's very misleading.
21 hits on the season.
In how many times at bat?
118.
Ooh, boy. Oof. And he's getting $18 million for that, too. Boy.
Why are they holding on to him?
That's a good question. Now, let's consider where we are in the season. Not quite the halfway point yet. I think the halfway point, I think it's Wednesday or Thursday. I think. Does that sound right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Traditionally, the halfway point's the All-Star break, but it's way beyond that. Halfway point. I think the Cardinals are going to have to sit down Mozeliak, who is general manager and the president of baseball. He's everything. I don't know who this other guy is, Gersh, and what he does. I have no idea. But Mozeliak calls the shots. He's going to have to sit down with the brass and say, this is where we are. We're right now 7 games out of first place, 3 games under 500. We're almost at the halfway point. It is time to let go of the dead wood, quote, end quote. Now, whether or not that happens, whether or not they have the ability to do that, because they'll have to eat his contract from there on in. They're going to pay him $18 million regardless. Can they trade him? Hell no. Nobody's going to take somebody like that. What good is he?
And this may be an unpopular opinion among Cardinal fans, but I'll be honest, there needs to be a change at the hitting coach level. Jeff Albert, in my opinion, you've seen now 5 to 6 years of the Cardinals maxing out with an offensive player having 20, 22 home runs and 80 RBIs leading the team. Arenado's a different player this year. But overall, I don't feel Jeff Albert is a competent hitting coach. There's other options out there.
Well, by competent, you're not making reference to the fact that he doesn't know the game.
No.
His approach is
It's his
different.
approach.
Yeah.
Correct.
I have to agree. I absolutely agree. And he's not the only team that needs some restructuring. The whole concept of baseball needs to be changed.
Yep, old guys bitching about baseball. We'll come back in a minute. We'll chat about, we'll bitch about football next.
All right.
Back to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, a proud member of the Kansas City Chiefs radio network.
We're back. This time we're going to turn our attention to football and talk about that for a little bit. Let's start in the world of the Kansas City Chiefs. And you talk about boneheads. Talk about guys doing stupid things. Frank Clark.
Yeah.
Well, it's easy for the media to get down on him, and when you take a look at all the surface stories that are involved, it's pretty much difficult to not get on the guy. What on earth is the man doing? I don't know how much he makes, maybe $15, $20 million, somewhere around there. He's a very good football player.
Yes, he is.
But you carry a Uzi submachine gun in your car, and there are 4 other people in that car with him at 3 a.m? Now, gang, I don't care what the circumstances are, that is not a good situation. Then he gets pulled over. Fortunately for him and the others, they did not get into a confrontation, nothing like that. But you do have that concealed weapon. Okay, you can have in Missouri, for instance, this would be at the max. I think the max is a year in jail and $1,000 fine, assuming that's the first time. Frank Clark's situation, he was arrested 3 months earlier for the same thing.
Right.
Got kicked out at Michigan, at University of Michigan when he was there. The track record is very much less than good. What happens to him? Well, Kansas City, first of all, the NFL will have, first of all, the United States judicial system will have something to say, then the NFL, then the Kansas City Chiefs. I would imagine that, I'm guessing this, don't have any insight into it at all, but if he sees much time with the Chiefs, I'd be very surprised.
Well, what do you think? Do you think the Chiefs just cut their losses and let him go?
I don't know, because you're letting go of, he has certainly a guaranteed portion of his contract. You can cut those guys and don't have to pay them, except for the guaranteed portion. I don't know what the guaranteed circumstances are with Clark, but you'd almost have to. You can't field an individual like that and have a good public reaction from it.
Well, I think just on the dollars and cents portion of it, how are you going to go into the season with a guy that may be looking at jail time? Let's face it, he's an athlete, probably won't get jail time.
Right.
Because it's the special rules for special people. But he probably will face a suspension from the NFL. I'm kind of surprised because the Chiefs have moved fairly quickly on a lot of stuff that's happened lately, but they stayed pretty quiet so far.
I think there's a reason why that. First of all, he's not guilty until proven so. He's innocent until proven guilty. And while it's alleged and while he was arrested and while he did have to post $35,000 bond, there still has been nothing judicial that's come down yet about this. So I think they're probably waiting till something like that happens. And maybe they are waiting for some secret agent to come along and say, the man is really innocent. He didn't know what was going on. Well, come on. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. But again, I'll be very surprised if he plays much this year.
Can we look at the bigger issue that we're calmly discussing, someone having an Uzi submachine gun in their car?
Probably should.
There are two people that should have Uzi submachine guns, soldiers and extras in the movie Scarface. You have no reason to have a submachine gun in your car.
Well, I mean, all that aside, I mean, it's for me, it's such a bonehead move.
It is.
I mean, this guy he's a millionaire. He plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's out at 3 a.m. with if he's concerned about his safety, don't be out. If you're concerned about your safety, there are legal remedies for that you can go through that don't infringe on your Second Amendment rights or any way like that. So I don't get what this guy's doing. I mean, I just don't. What's the purpose? Why is he's got his head up his butt? Everybody's sitting there. Everybody's shaking their heads at the same time.
I'm sure there is a reason why he had it, but it's
machismo,
right?
Yes.
Macho bravado.
No,
that's all
it's
it
probably
is.
more than that, guys. It's probably something that is bordering on the
illegal.
Yeah, and it's unfair to even brand somebody in that category. But the fact of the matter remains, there is really zero excuse for having something like that happen to you.
To your point, Joe, if you look at the entertainment industry, celebrities hire bodyguards. Professional athletes don't, and that's part of their ego, their macho bravado. They're like, hey, I'm a big professional athlete. I can bench press 400 pounds. Nobody's going to mess with me. But then they go out in these situations and think, I'm going to carry a submachine gun with me just for the fun of it, just to show off to my buddies. The whole attitude of that is so misplaced. And you see it so much in professional sports now. Who was it? A few years ago that went to a nightclub with a gun in his sweatpants and ended up shooting himself in the.
That was an NBA player.
That was
an NBA player.
That was Plaxico Burress.
Oh, yeah, that was
a
football
NFL player. Yeah,
yeah, but I mean,
that was stupid.
When are you guys?
Yes.
I mean, like Joe said, if you're really concerned that you're going to need a gun when you go out, don't go out.
Well, again, Ned's a journalist. We're guys that sit and talk,
right?
And so Ned, well, he's
my degree is not in journalism,
but you hold that You hold that in high regard, being a journalist. But where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, what is it? He's out at 3 a.m., 3 other guys with the submachine gun in his car. What were they doing?
What was their plan?
What was the plan? Where were they going? I mean, you're not going down to the convenience store because somebody was hungry for Twinkies.
Right. They weren't
they may have been.
They weren't going to Denny's.
Yeah. Hey guys, let's go to Denny's. Wait. Let me grab my submachine gun
my Uzi
before we
first.
go.
I've been in some rough Denny's.
Actually, though, you guys are being flipped about it, but there are zero reasons why that's any good at all. None. There is no legitimate excuse for having that. That's why I say if he plays it all for the Chiefs this year, it'll be only by the grace of the Chiefs and by the grace of the NFL, because this is, hey, you're bordering on doing something here. And furthermore, what kind of an image are you presenting? Here you are making a lot of money, you're a big-time pro athlete, and you're doing something like this? Man, you need help.
Charles Barkley, I'm not a role model.
He does that. He does that just to be controversial. He knows what he is. He knows what his aura is as far as the public's concerned. He's just promoting himself when he says that. He knows fully well that he's a model. Look at some of the commercials he does. When the little kid picks him for the bell. Hey, I'm back. Hey, that stuff is funny. And he's saying things just to be whimsical. Hey, Barkley's no dumbbell. He's a smart guy.
No, not at all. No. He's a very, very intelligent guy. But this is an overall problem that we've seen in sports. I mean, it goes way back. Yeah. It just is the fact that a lot of things happen now that we know more about. The gentleman's agreement between the athletes and between the journalists doesn't exist anymore.
Correct.
And so we see a lot of things that happen. But, I mean, there's just certain things that you throw into you're being a bonehead. You're just completely being an idiot to do some of the things that these guys are doing. And there's no good reason for it.
There's the problem. The reasoning, there is none. Other than the fact that you think you can skirt the law, you think you can do something maybe for whomever, because there were, I think 2 or 3 other guys with him in this car. What is this? What are you doing? Is it something illegal? Were you bordering on maybe, I'm just using this as an example, is there a drug hit coming in, something like that? Whatever it is, there are 3 things, 3 reasons, and none of them are any good.
Young men with a lot of money.
Yes.
Maybe too much money.
Yeah, maybe too much money. That's different.
And no one to structure their life from the time that they started making that money.
Let's switch gears and talk about the other real major story in the NFL this week, and it's Carl, and you're going to have to help me with this. Nassib, is that how you pronounce his last name?
Nassib,
Carl Nassib.
Oh, the guy from the Oakland or the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah. He came out as being gay this week. He is the first active NFL player to ever come out as being homosexual, and so far, and the big names in the NFL have been very supportive and responsive, and his jersey has been the top seller in the NFL since this happened.
Nice.
But what do you think? I mean, what's your thoughts?
Doesn't phase. Hey, the guy can do what he wants.
Exactly.
If his life is diverse to what I assume these other guys and me, that's fine. He wants to do it. Leave me alone. It's not something that you can adjudicate. Nothing like that. He wants to come out. I do object to everybody. Oh, how brave this man! Come on, man. So I'm straight. Ned Reynolds is straight. Hey, he's brave for admitting. Come on.
Well,
people.
no, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that, because just culturally, how we look at people who are gay,
it is nobody's business.
It is nobody's business, but it's such a tough. He's opening himself up for so many things that are going to happen. For all the voices that come out in support of him, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of voices that will call him names, and there'll be guys at the bottom of the pile that'll say things to him. There'll be guys that will secretly whisper, "I don't want to locker with him anymore. I don't want to be in a locker room with him. I don't want to be on the field with him because I don't know." I mean, we saw this with Magic Johnson. I mean, when he came out that he had AIDS, there were people like, "Hey, I'm not playing basketball with this guy."
These are personal decisions.
Yeah.
They are nobody else's. It's nobody else's. I'm surprised the guy even came out. Nobody cares. You do what you want.
Well, people care. People do care.
I don't.
Well, but
I'm
I don't think I don't think you can look at the world through your own myopic vision. I mean, and I'm not criticizing you for that. Everybody does that for a time. You may not care, but there's a lot of people out there that do care one way or another.
If that's the case, Joe, why make it public?
Well, I
all
think
you're going to do is create controversy and discussion and things like when a person's private life of whatever the case might be is nobody else's business.
Here's how I look at it, Ned. It is a fresh example of representation, and that's why he came out, because the LGBTQ community is looking for more representation. They're looking for more acceptance. That's what they're doing. And so for a player like this at the top level of this sport to come out and say, I am gay, that puts a pin so that other people that are gay can say, I feel more represented by this person being open about their sexuality.
But
and it doesn't affect the game. It shouldn't affect these players because they're all adults and they should understand what you're saying. What you're doing in your personal life is none of my business. And as a football player, we're playing football and it should be fine. But he will receive criticism. He will receive more negative press than he deserves. But that is the reason that he came out, is to represent people that are the same inclination as him.
Well, sure, and that's fine. But why do they need representation? We're all Americans. We all follow the same rules. The Constitution is there for everybody. All men are created equal, and that's a form of verbiage that includes everybody. Men and women are created equul. But why do we need certain groups to be represented like that?
Well, because they haven't been in the past,
because we're all together.
Well, and I see where you're coming from, but what I'm saying is those people for countless years have felt like they weren't part of that.
That's their feeling.
Well, but there has been evidence
truth,
to
though.
back it up. The hate crimes that have been perpetrated against all these groups have fostered that need for them to have the acceptance that they're now starting to get in these circumstances.
and just the fact that you're viewing the world through your own white male Protestant view. And when you do that, you know, we don't have the same view. We're all three white male Protestants, more or less. That's the background that we grew up in. And so when you view the world through that background, you don't go, well, why does somebody need more representation? Why does that need to come out? And I think it's not so much important that this guy comes out. It's important there's a kid out there somewhere at some point that's like, you know, I love football, but I don't feel like everybody else. And he can choose a path that he wants to go down now, or she wants to go down, that maybe they didn't feel was open to them at that point in their life. And it's the same thing as breaking the color barrier in a certain regard. It's not the same, but it's in the same category. Anyway, we'll come back with a roundtable discussion, which is about what might have been. It's on Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave.
You're listening to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, part of the Kansas City Chiefs radio network. Back to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, a proud member of the Kansas City Chiefs radio network.
We're here on a steamy Sunday afternoon chatting about sports, watching some soccer. Some interesting things happening in the soccer match on the pitch on this Sunday. What is this that's going on, Josh? What are we watching here? Oh, wait. Oh, there you go.
These are the Euro Championship. So these are all the European teams, a big tournament to determine the European champion. It's kind of like a World Cup qualifier, but not really.
Well, what I'm seeing is Czechoslovakia is up on the Ned Reynolds sponsored team, which made a poor uniform choice with the bright orange jerseys.
I like the orange. Their
It's
fans
the
are really
Netherlands,
depressed.
John.
Oh, the Netherlands. I just saw Ned.
The Netherlands.
It does say Ned on there any day, and that's because the European pronunciation is Nederland. That's
Yes.
the Netherlands,
Yes, that's
and
right.
it is NED.
Which means Ned's land.
Ned's land. That's right.
But Ned is not Dutch.
But he goes Dutch frequently. So
Not frequently, all the time.
let's go to our roundtable discussion this week, which is what might have been. And I guess the place for me to start with that would be Mickey Mantle. We were talking about Mickey off the air.
yes.
Not the pleasant side of Mickey Mantle, but, he was clocked at 3.5 from the right side of the plate, 3.0 from the left side of the plate. And that means his speed from home to first, which means almost any ball that he hit into play, it was either going to be close or he was going to be safe. Mm-hmm. But the well-known story, the drainage culvert in the outfield of Yankee Stadium, and he hit that and tore up his knee and never had quite the same speed. What might have been with Mickey Mantle? What extraordinary numbers could we have seen if those things hadn't happened to him?
He already had 536 career home runs, one of the all-time greats. He's a Hall of Famer. Would it have been different? Probably a little bit more, but I think it would have been marginal because he achieved pretty well, guys, with what he did.
Oh, he did,
even
yeah.
as an injured player. The one who sticks out of my mind, this is going to resonate poorly with you guys, is Sam Bowie.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
Sam
Yes,
Bowie?
yes.
In college, Sam Bowie was a big time star at Kentucky. He's drafted up in the NFL. And then he had all these ankle injuries and leg injuries and all this problem, which he never really did achieve any kind of great fame. I'll tell you another one who might surprise you a little bit, who could have been, in my opinion, a better player. He's already pretty good, was Bill Walton.
Oh, yes.
yeah.
Absolutely.
He had all these problems with his legs, and a lot of that theory, this is theory now, had to do with the fact that he was vegan and, practiced an alternate lifestyle in terms of his diet and things
Yes.
like that, and kind of a radical thinker. But his lifestyle being so different from what you normally achieve with a training table diet and all that sort of thing may have cost him. That was the theory. But regardless of that, he never really made it as a pro. He's good, but not great, as he might have been had he been fully healthy.
Since we're talking about what might have been one, and this is a tragic case of this, obviously, one that still is a little hard for me to talk about because it was in my youth. A lot of people probably don't remember Lynn Bias, who was the #1 draft choice for the Boston Celtics back in the mid-'80s.
University of Maryland,
He was a hugely talented player coming out of Maryland. And for those that don't know the story, unfortunately, the night, I think, of the draft or after, died of a cocaine overdose. And, I think the Celtics felt that reverberation for a decade at least in kind of taking a step backwards. We talk about baseball. One of the big ones that also is hard for me to talk about would be Oscar Taveras, a young man that I covered a lot here in Springfield and had a very high regard for, showed flashes of brilliance in the postseason against the Giants when the Cardinals went down to them in the NLCS, and then unfortunately lost his life when his car skidded out of control in his native country and died.
And it cost the club.
Yes.
Cost the club immeasurably over the years that Tavares could have been a big star. Yeah, he was a fine player.
Yes, he was.
Absolutely outstanding player. Young, probably too young and too wealthy for his own safety because he's one of these guys who's invulnerable.
Yes.
Was he 20 or 21 when he suffered the auto accident fatal?
He was a little older than that. I think he was 23, but still very young. And Yordano Ventura is another one for the Royals that unfortunately ended the same way.
Same thing. Youth, and the fact that youth has a lot of money. And, that's the nature of the society that we live in now, where you're going to pay Fort Knox to get some of these guys. But are they mature enough to handle it? And the answer is, in many cases, no.
Josh?
I've got two. I've got one in pro football and one in college football. Pro football's Bo Jackson.
Oh my gosh.
Bo Jackson was the biggest stud in the NFL and MLB. Mm-hmm. There's a great highlight of him playing for the Royals where he runs at a dead sprint out to the outfield, runs up the side of the wall and back down. I mean, the guy he was an amazing athlete. And then he had that degenerative hip thing that I was watching the game where it was the Raiders versus the Bengals, and he just got casually tackled on the sideline, and then that was it. I'm like, what happened? That didn't look bad.
It was the most benign play that could possibly happen. He was tackled and down, and
the back of his hip just crumbled, and that was the end of Bo Jackson's career. In college football, as an Alabama fan, in the 90s, I believe, they had a player named Tyrone Prothro who was the best wide receiver I have ever seen them have. He caught everything. And that year, I think he was a sophomore. That year, when they were playing in the SEC championship game against Florida, he went up for a ball in the end zone, and when he came down, the D-back was on at his waist, grabbed him by the waist, and he landed wrong and broke both the bones in his leg. And I think he tried to play the next year or maybe the year after and just wasn't there. But that guy, that's definitely a what could have been for me.
Johnny Manziel.
No.
Tim Tebow.
No, those guys don't count because they were both played the game. They may not have been the great stars that they thought they were going to be, but it wasn't some kind of a catastrophic circumstance that knocked them out. But there are others, and the list goes on as you go down through the sports calendar and annals as they are. Roger Federer, for one, right now.
Oh, yes.
He's one of the all-time great tennis players, and he's bothered by a knee injury.
Yep.
It happens. These are physical sports in which circumstances like that happen. But what might have been, it's all subjective, of course, because there are any number of individuals, and you see them with each era that comes along. There are people who fall into that category. You guys pointed out some very good ones. So Giordano Ventura of Kansas City really is a sad story. Tavares was probably going to be, but Ventura already was.
Yeah.
The kid for the Marlins who passed away in the boating accident.
Jose Fernandez. Yeah. I forgot about him.
Absolutely. Could have been great. Thurman Munson's a guy that comes to mind. We talked about Lyman Bostock in the past. Mm-hmm. Even Roberto Clemente. I mean, his career was not over. Where was Clemente going to go from there? Right. So
here's a guy, you talk about poetic injustice. He gets his 3,000th hit on the last day of the season, then passes away in that winter. Good.
On a humanitarian trip, too, nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Humanitarian.
In equal representation for all sports, this is one you'll remember, Josh, in hockey, and this is a different kind of tragedy. Danny Heatley, who was a young superstar by all accounts, was going to be a Hall of Famer, got into a car accident with a teammate of his. I can't remember his teammate's name, and his teammate died because he was intoxicated driving them home. And that weighed on him heavily for the rest of his NHL career. He had a good career, but I think without that, he's somebody that we talk about in the same vein with the greats.
We'll come back and wrap up the show in just a minute. It's Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave.
Back to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave. A proud member of the Kansas City Chiefs radio network.
Steamy and warm this afternoon. Thunderstorms likely. There's a thunderstorm warning south of here for Stone, Taney, and Christian counties. And to answer your question, Ned, Steve Carlton won Cy Young Awards 72, 77, 80, and 82.
Oh, he spaced us out, yeah.
Yeah, Triple Crown winner in 1972. We're talking about Jacob deGrom while we're off the air. Looks like he's on track to win his third consecutive Cy Young if nothing happens to his arm, which is always the fear that you have with a guy that throws as hard as he does, that you're going to see some sort of injury. So, hopefully he'll stay healthy.
Let me just throw a little note of caution into what you said there. You're right. He does throw hard, but he has been throwing hard for now 3 years, and he's made it work. Obviously, he has that technique. Same with a guy like Adam Wainwright, who does not throw hard, but snaps off that big Uncle Charlie curveball, well, he knows how to do it, and he's not putting the strain on his tendons at all. There are methods, there are techniques to learning how to do these things, and these guys have mastered those techniques. They know what to do. Not saying that throwing the ball hard is an error, nor hitting long balls. It is how you do it. It is the technique and the consistency with which you follow through.
Your elbow has to be above your shoulder. Exactly. That's how you protect your elbow. That's what we taught our kids. Yes, exactly. So we're at the end of the show, and we always talk about what we're going to watch this afternoon. Ned, what are you going to partake in?
Well, that's a good question. If I had the Cardinals and Pirates, I'd probably watch that, but I don't have it in my system, so I will not be. No, I'm just fine without it. But there will be something, I can't specifically tell you what. May watch the end of the Olympic trials coming up, though. I'm interested to see how this is the final day for the track and field trials, and really the final day for all of qualifying. There may be some more, the gymnastics going on up in St. Louis, but I want to see how our U.S. Olympic team fits into the scope of things, and I think it's going to be in all phases pretty good.
What about you, John?
I don't know that I'll be watching anything, but a nice local plug. My children and my wife and I are going to go to the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. It'll be my wife's first time going, and she is very excited about it, so I'm looking forward to taking my lovely bride there for the first time.
She will enjoy it very much because it is very well done.
Yes, it is.
And what about you, sir?
Today, I don't think I'm going to be watching much as far as sports, but the Stanley Cup Finals start tomorrow evening, and my favorite team, the Montreal Canadiens, made it in, and they have to play Tampa Bay, who is really good.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. The finals are set for the NHL, Tampa Bay, and the Canadiens, one of the original teams, is
the original
in.
6.
And we talked a lot off the air, and we don't give the NBA as much love as we should, but the NBA... the finals have been very exciting.
Fantastic.
And some really good teams, the Clippers and the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, they look good.
Looks like the Suns are going to make it all the way in. And then on the other side of that, we're at 1-1 with the Bucks and the Hawks.
Atlanta Hawks, yeah.
Well,
So-
back to the media, Joe. Just remember, Trae Young's game doesn't translate to the pro level.
Oh, stop it, you guys. Stop it with your media hating. I really get tired of that. Come on. I'm going to watch the Red Sox sweep the Yankees and lament about that the rest of the day.
Sorry,
So we're going to take next week off for 4th of July. So we want to tell everybody, please don't shoot your eye out and be safe and have a happy 4th, Ned.
Thank you. That's very nice. You have a happy 4th as well.
John, happy 4th.
Thank you. You as well.
Josh, happy 4th.
Happy 4th. I hope we all come back with all of our fingers.
Yes, me too. Thanks to everybody, including Corbin Campbell, Scott Meyer, Mike the intern. We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. If you're just tuning in, download the podcast at 1047thecave.com. You can also download it through your Cave app, and you can download it wherever you get your podcast at. Remember, those tickets are on sale right now for Mitch Holtis. He's going to be here July 22nd for our happy hour with the Chiefs.